Beautiful. So today we are doing a journey to pet heaven in quotations. Because what is that? I mean, depending on your upbringing, you may or may not like or use the word heaven because it has a lot of religious connotations. But what it is basically is like the spiritual realms, the soul realms, where the animal souls go. Because when humans die and they cross over, I call it the in between. We all go to the in between, okay? It's in between lifetimes. That's why I call it that. So you're in between lifetimes. You are not in a dimension because dimensions are reserved for lifetimes. That's where you go to have an incarnation. Okay, you write a soul contract, you're going to have an angel lifetime. It has a start and a finish. You write a soul contract, you're going to have a mantis lifetime. It has a start and a finish. It has a dimension connected to it. It has a start and a finish, and you're playing a character, right? Understand you are playing a character in all of these lifetimes. Like I'm playing the character of Jenny right now. Who am I really? The soul within. And when you're in the in between, you're not playing a character, you're the pure soul who has all remembrance of who they are, all lifetimes, all the characters they played, all the lessons they learned, and something else, right? That something else that's outside of the characters that we play. Each layer of the soul, because the soul is like this is all for humans or animals. Each layer of the soul goes on top of that spark. So at the very core of a soul is that white light, that pure source energy. We're God, right? And then every layer on top of that is a lifetime, a lifetime, a lifetime, a lifetime. Like I just did a session and the person's guide said you need to go 9 layers deep to heal this trauma. 9 layers deep. That means 9 lifetimes ago, right? We're the surface right now. You're always on the surface of the lifetime that you're in. The deeper you go, the further away the lifetime is or feels. Um, but when you're not playing a character, when you're not in one of those lifetimes and you are the pure soul, you are all of the characters at once. You're every character you've ever played, you're every, all the names, all the memories, all the lessons, all the joy, all the trauma. You are all of those things, but you're something else too. You're something intangible. It's like that God self, that essence, the center of the soul, just that pureness. Now it's not distracted by the character that you're playing. Now there's something more pure that's coming through, almost like just more godlike, more divine, more of that pure light that you are. So the soul is all that you are. And when you're playing a character, you don't have access to all of that. Now, what does this have to do with animals? Because today is all about like pets and animals and where they go when they cross over. It's the same thing. Pets and animals are also playing characters. They are. Now, there are like a lot of people believe it's like a different kind of soul that plays an animal versus a soul that plays a human, but I just think it's different stages of evolution. Many of us remember being things like trees and animals before we took on something a little more complex, like a human being, trying to be like, or a humanoid, like an Andromedan humanoid, something with like a higher level reasoning, higher level consciousness, more of that God essence, more of that God awareness. Animals, it's a little easier, right? It's like when I did a reading for Brian and he was a dragon in Avalon, of course. This was like one of the very first readings I ever did for him so many years ago. I remember the feeling of being that dragon was so pure. There was none of this human ego worries. There was none of this like pre-thought. Well, what am I doing later? What am I going to do about this? Well, there was none of that. There was none of the, oh God, I can't believe I did that yesterday. I'm such a loser. Like there was none of the thinking about yesterday, thinking about tomorrow. There was now. There was now, now, now. And it was so alive, this presence, this feeling, it was like a more pure, it felt more pure consciousness in a way because it wasn't impeded by so much thinking and worrying. It was just pure presence, pure now, pure instinct, pure joy, pure need. I need to eat now. I'm doing this and it's fun now. I'm flying and it's amazing now. It's like you're in the moment so much. And that is so beautiful. And that to me has always felt like souls earlier on in their journey, right? Like I know that you can have like a very wise dog or a very wise cat, and many of them will never choose to try to be like a human or a humanoid style being with such a high level of brain, because maybe they don't desire that or see the point in that. It's so much more challenging, right? But I'm just saying that like animals have like a purity to them where they retain that presence of that, like live in the moment. That feels a lot closer to God in a way. And then we challenge ourselves when we take on a character like a human being. It's a lot more advanced, it's a lot more challenging. If you were in school, then it's just like a higher, more advanced grade than trying to be like a cat or a dog. There's lessons in both, there's wisdom in both. They can be magical. Like, I don't want anybody to be watching this and be like, no, my dog's like a shaman. Okay, your dog could very well be a shaman. And maybe your dog even had a lifetime as a shaman and thought, like, fuck being human, I'm going back to being a dog. That's totally possible too, because we have complete free will with that. But I just feel like there's more purity to the animal souls. They're closer to like that God expression of just love. They're so like loving and innocent and pure. And I mean, some of them can be like, I'm just thinking of like, some horses and different things can have really strong personalities where they like to get in trouble, they like to bite, they like to kick. Yeah, they can still have all that, but it's still, there's a pureness there to it. There's no like manipulation. It's just so different than being human. So comment in the chat. Some pets are really smart, like a person. I hope I can find a pet like that. Yeah, definitely, definitely. We've got some very wise familiars out there. So in my mind, the way that I understand things to be is that animals are just very pure. It's still extremely challenging to do something like Earth as an animal. They would actually have to have a ton of bravery because they're at the mercy of humans a lot of the time. Like, think about if you got a shitty owner that like to kick their dog, and now you're this, it's so sad to think of that. And you can't ever, it's like being a child, but you never grow up, you can never leave, you're at their mercy forever. So that's really hard to think about, but it's like a child in a way. It's like that more innocence. So today what I wanted to do was, I mean, take questions from you, if you have questions, pop them into the chat, but I wanted to do a little astral journey. Now, this whole month is this theme of animal souls, pet souls. And so in our next meeting together, we're going to be doing the messages from our animal guides and passed over pets. So if you've had a pet that's crossed over, or if you just have a lot of animal spirit guides and just messages from the animals. But today, let's see where they go between their lifetimes. When they die and they cross over, where do they go? Is it the same as humans? Like, I'm not 1000% sure on this. I don't know if they have their own special secluded heaven, like realm, or if it's all just mixed in with humans, or if it's a little bit separate and then they can, visit their humans. I don't know what it's going to be like. So we're going to find out together, and we're going to do this astral journey together. And it's going to be channeled on the spot, and we'll see what it's like. But let me know now before we jump in, if you have any questions that you want answered about the pet realms, then pop them into the chat now, and I will make sure to ask those questions when we get there. And other than that, this is going to feel like a guided meditation for you, where I take us up to the in-between realm where the animals are. And I'm sure that we will have a guide, as we normally do. Someone will show up to guide us, answer our questions, and show us around. And we will get the answers that way. Okay. So I don't know the answers, and that makes me really super curious about what's going to happen today. I just love that. Okay. Good. We have a question coming in. Can they be with us still when we call on them? Amazing. So let's ask about their potential to be spirit guides, right? I'll ask that when we get there for sure. That's a great question. And, even if they reincarnate, say a pet passes on and then reincarnates, can they still, is there something that is retained in that soul realm that can still be a spirit guide? Do they split themselves up? How does that work? We'll find out. Can they be a part of our soul family? Amazing question. Good. I love these. Okay, I was going to write them down. There's no reason. They're right here in the chat. Okay. Good, good, good. So keep them coming. I will, during the experience, when it gets to the point where I'm asking questions of our guide, I will ask these questions and we will get these answers. But let's get there first. Okay, so if you're ready and if it's safe for you to do so in this moment, I would love to set up a sacred space together and get you into a very relaxed state. And another great question coming in, I want to know if animals have arrived from other planets. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. Okay, good. I can't wait to ask these. Okay, so you can keep them coming in the side, but I'm going to set up a sacred space now for everyone. So I want to have you all get relaxed. So if you can just lean back, if you're in a seat, again, if you're not driving or working, like, if you are, by the way, you can still participate in the sacred space. Just do it on a soul level, subconsciously, okay? Participate with me. So, but what I'm going to do is, for those of you that can, please place your hand over your heart chakra, which is right in the center of the chest, and closing your eyes. I'm going to count you through a couple of nice deep breaths. And I want you to know that with every single breath, your mind is getting quieter. And with every single breath, your body is getting more still. So let's take a nice deep breath in, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath and exhale, 2, 3, 4. Another deep breath in, 2, 3, 4. Hold and exhale, 2, 3, 4. Last deep breath in, 2, 3, 4. Hold it and exhale, 2, 3, 4. Good. So just continue breathing in a nice relaxed way. And you can place your hands down into your lap now, palms up to receive. As I call into your space on your left-hand side, Archangel Michael coming in. On the right-hand side, Archangel Raphael. In front of you, Archangel Heniel. And behind you, your highest human self. I'm going to ask these beings to start to fill you up now with their love, their healing, and their higher frequencies. Raising your own frequency up as much as they can inside of your body safely. Feel your vibration start to rise, that percolation feeling as your vibration starts to rise. You might start to feel hot. I'm going to ask Archangel Michael to place around each one of you a blue bubble of protection that acts like a filter to your highest good. And then we're going to call on God Source, Father, Mother, God, from where you exist, at the edge of the universe, where the stars end. There is a doorway of light. Open that door to us now and let your white light pour down. Down through the stars, weaving down through the stars on its way to Earth. Coming down through Earth's atmosphere and sky, and coming down now through the ceiling of the room or space that you're in, to go into the top of your head, into the crown chakra in 3, 2, 1. Pressure as it pushes down past the third eye, the ears, pressure moving down through the sinuses. You're being filled with white light, going down through the throat, the heart, stomach, the sacral, the root, even pouring into your hips, legs, feet, and toes, down the arms into the hands, fingers, until you're so filled with white light that you are glowing. We're going to ask God Source to anchor us here in the light, to let everything that I channel, all of the information that we receive in today's experience, be true. Let it all be true. Let it be divinely timed and orchestrated and for the highest good of all involved and true. And now I want to call on your personal animal guides. Let's get you surrounded by your animal guides as well. So I call on your past loved pets that you had a special connection with to come to you now. I see them coming to your left shoulder. And then I call on your If you have more than one pet that you've lost that had a special connection with you, then there's another one that comes over to the right shoulder. If there's any more, they come in front, because behind you and like a horseshoe around you is your animal spirit guides. I'm seeing bears for some reason for somebody. Elephant, I just saw an elephant, giraffe. I think I'm looking at a meerkat. Lots of birds, a stork for somebody, like so many beautiful and interesting animal spirit guides, a raccoon, and even an alligator, or maybe that was a crocodile actually. Yeah, awesome. So lots of animal spirit guides surrounding you, like a horseshoe behind, your past loved ones, your pets on the shoulders and in front. So just feel that for a second. Who's with you? You know how to use your third eye. So tune in visually right now with your third eye and your mind's eye. What pets came back to sit with you? That just shows you how strong the connection is. Maybe some that you haven't thought of in a while. And then tune into the spirit animals behind you. Who's there for you? What kind of animals are on your team? Make a mental note so you can look up the spiritual meanings of them. I just saw an ostrich randomly for someone. I just seeing so many of the collective group of the people here with me live, and who anyone that's going to watch a replay of this. I'm seeing so many animals. It's crazy. Okay. So I want to officially request that we as a group be able to travel to the animal soul realm, where all of our pets and our animal spirit guides go between lifetimes. And I want to ask who can guide us to that. Because I got this feeling like it wasn't going to be Archangel Michael being our guide this time. I had a feeling it had to be an animal to take us. I'm seeing a polar bear stepping forward that's glowing really, really brightly, like bright white, beautiful polar bear. And it's getting down low and making an offer for you to climb aboard. So this is where we begin like an astral travel. So I want you to separate in your mind, in your energy, the physical body that's going to remain behind and your astral light body that you're going to send on a journey. So to make this effective for you, you can visualize the orb of light that sits in your body in your high heart. This is your soul sitting on the throne inside the body. This is where it animates your physical body from. So in the high heart, we have the soul. Look at the color of your soul. Look at how that outer layer, the color of that outer layer, like ripples and moves. You might even have wings. See the color crisp, see the wings, and then encourage it to now, beautiful soul, it's time to rise up out of the body. So we're going to go up through the throat, through the mind, out of the crown chakra, and we're going to allow this orb of light to bob over top of the body. Now, a good way to separate ourselves is to throw your consciousness, your focus to that version of you. You have a light body. When you're traveling, it's like a little orb of light. And when you arrive at your destination, it unfurls into you, your human self, but made out of light, but looks like your human self. So right now it's just an orb of light because it's going to travel. But what we can do is throw our consciousness to that. So you can ask yourself, this is an exercise to throw your consciousness. Ask yourself, if I was an orb of light hovering above my body, what would it look like if I looked down at the top of my head? What color is your hair? How does it part? How does it lay on your shoulders, if it does? What do your shoulders look like from that vantage point straight above? What shirt do you have on? Now look around the room from up here, up above your body. Where are the windows? And now your physical eyes should always be closed during this. You're looking with your mind's eye. You're looking through the soul. Look around at the furniture, the windows, the room setup. You're up there. It's real. You can astral travel through intention. So I want you to now notice in the room with you is this bright white polar bear. And it's asking you to climb aboard, and it's going to take us to the animal soul realm. So maybe you want to unfurl already from the orb of light into your light body so that you can wrap your arms around its neck, wrap your legs around its back and belly, hold on tight. And once you get comfortable and attached, it starts to charge. It starts to run so fast, and suddenly its legs, as it's running, are in the air and it's flying, and it's like it's running, but it's starting to elevate up, 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 up. Hold on. I want you to feel the fur. It's soft, but it's kind of coarse. And you can feel it prickling your arms and maybe your face and neck. I want you to feel the warmth of its body. I want you to feel how it moves underneath you, the muscles, and how big it is. I want you to hear the sounds of it running and huffing its breath in and out as it makes effort. I want you to make this real. I want you to dig your fingers into the fur on its neck and feel that between your fingers. Again, it's kind of soft, but it's kind of coarse and rough. I want you to feel as your body gets pulled back as it lurches up higher and higher and higher, and you have to hold on tighter and tighter. And it's telling me that it's going to travel in between, like it's traveling up in between dimensions. We're not in a dimension as we travel upwards, we're in between. I'm seeing like rows of dimensions on the right and on the left, and we're just in the middle, just going straight up, straight up, straight up. And all of a sudden, we get so high that we go through the galaxy, through the stars, and then we go beyond that. And suddenly, there's no stars. Everything's left behind. There's no stars, there's no planets. It's so far down, you can't see it. That's how high we are. We're outside of existence. We're outside of life. We're outside of worlds. We're going somewhere else. And the higher we get, the more you start to hear this music. It starts to get louder and louder. And they're saying it's the music of creation. That this place that was made, or this place that has always existed where souls live, is alive, and it sings this song of creation. And now we're starting to see these big golden gates. And the ground where we land is all fluffy, like mist, fog, clouds. And we see these big golden gates. And the polar bear rings a bell on the outside of the gate. And the gate swings open for him. And he walks inside, taking you with him. And then he crouches down a little bit as your sign that you can get off of him now. And so you place your feet on the ground and you feel a little wobbly from the flight, which was intense. And you feel under your feet these misty clouds. They're kind of cool and moist. And there's someone walking towards you to greet you. And the person coming out of this realm to greet you at the gates, to greet you at the entrance, is a pet that you've had before. It's one of your beloved pets, maybe as a child, could be as an adult, but they're no longer with you on earth. If you didn't personally have a pet, maybe it's your grandmother's pet. It's an animal that knows you from Earth. That's what they just said. They know you from Earth as the character that you're playing now, and they remember you. And they're going to greet you with a lot of love and excitement. If it's a dog, the tail is just going crazy and they're so excited to see you. Maybe if it's a cat, they're jumping up into your arms. If it's a bird, they're flying to land on you. They're running up to you. They're so excited to show you around. It's like so exciting for them to have a loved one come visit them here and come see their world. And so they start to encourage you to walk in deeper. They're directing you. They're telling you where to go. They're showing you where to go. And there's a bridge to cross to start. So you're going to walk over this big golden bridge, and it kind of separates the entrance from the main place, world, wherever this is. And on the other side, I want you to notice that a lot of the animals are kind of sectioned off, not in a way that is forceful, in a natural way. Because I'm seeing like a bunch of flamingos all standing together in some ankle-high water. And then beyond that, I'm seeing like hippopotamuses all together. And though the animals enjoy each other, they really do enjoy like their own kind. And they are showing themselves to me now, not as a soul, but as an animal. And what I'm hearing from the animal that is guiding me, my little guide, is that when animals first cross over, they still remember themselves to be what they were in that lifetime. So this is the first level that they would enter into. So if they were just a dog and then they died and then they cross over, they would look down and see themselves as a dog. They would come into this world. This is the first level of the world. They would find their dog friends and they would play and they would wreak havoc and they would have a good time. And they would spend as much time as they need in this level where they're still acting as that animal. But there would come a point for most of them, and there's no time limit. This is like a healing thing for them. It's very healing for them to be with their own kind, and it's very healing for them to feel the peace of this place. They're at peace. There is like no hunger, no thirst, no need to use the bathroom. They are just here to snuggle, cuddle, play, and just be. But there's none of the other urgencies. So it's actually giving them a great sense of peace. And this is the first level of their heaven, if we want to call it that. The second level of their heaven happens when that soul starts to wonder a little bit more deeply about where they are, what are they doing here, like some self-awareness clicking in, like, wait a minute, I've been here for a while. What am I doing here? Why am I here? Who am I? What's going on? When they start to like heal past the first layer of just, okay, you're okay, whatever happened on Earth, you obviously died. We need to heal that. We do that in groups that is safe and feels familiar and feels good. Then we go to the next level of, oh, who am I really? What's really going on? And when that happens, and then they walk over another bridge. So these are all like little bridges in between these realms. The next bridge that they cross over, when you go into that, now it's not physical beings anymore. Now let's cross over that bridge together. So let's walk over the second bridge, saying goodbye to all these little groups of happy little animals. And then we go into the second layer of this animal heaven, pet heaven. And when you look around, you're going to see light beings everywhere. Some of them are shaped like an orb of light, and some of them are kind of shaped sort of like an animal. Like there's one that looks like a kind of dog that is like light, that's like racing around and barking even. But it's not like every detail. It's like they're slowly remembering the eternal soul within. So they kind of return in this second realm to full awareness and remembrance that they are an eternal soul and that they were playing a role or a character of this animal, and that they've had many lifetimes where they've done this before, and they're here to heal, and they're here to decide if they want to do that again. And so this is a much larger section of this world. This is huge. I'm seeing beautiful gardens and waterfalls, and because it's an ethereal place, it's not necessarily physical, but you can still see that it's beautifully like landscaped. Fountains, there's green, there's trees, bushes, flowers, like animals are happy in nature, so it's very like beautiful. There's even a beach section, but it's all sparkling in a way that's, it's ethereal. It's not a real beach. It's it's light form, if that makes sense, like an ethereal form of that, so that they're not just hanging out in nothingness. They still need something to kind of keep them, I guess, grounded in themselves in a sense. And so as they start to remember who they really are, they return to the pure light orb. And so this is kind of like all these animal souls in the middle of that evolution. Some still look like, for instance, like an elephant walking around made of light, though. It's remembered it's not physical anymore, so it's not in the first section. But it's still really attached to the elephant thing, to the elephant identity. And slowly, the more time it spends here, the more it will kind of just shrink back to either a wave of light or an orb of light, or whatever it prefers for a shape, but it will just be like just more of like a light, more of an orb, more of a wavelength, more of a frequency, and less trying to be that animal anymore. So this takes a little longer in this side. So they can spend as much time as they want. There's no timeline. And there's a lot of healing happening here. And I see what looks like almost like angels in a way, little orbs of light with wings flitting around in between them and speaking to them. And when these little angel orb lights speak, they flash. I can see like their little color flashing as they talk. And they communicate telepathically with these other beings, like letting them know, oh, it's time to come into the healing chamber, or it's time for you to watch another life review. And so they have little tasks that they're doing as the soul to really help them heal and remember who they are. So there's lots of guides that to me are looking, I would call them angelic, but we're kind of in this in-between place. So souls, I guess just souls, helper souls that are working here. This is their job. This is their mission. They work in the in-between. Some of them in the human side, I definitely see that. And here in the animal side, I see that there's these souls that work here to help the souls crossing over to heal and to remember who they really are, and to prepare for, the next life. So this is the second layer. The third layer, which is again a little smaller. So this is the big layer of where most of the stuff is happening. But when we cross over, let's cross over one more golden bridge together. So walk through this realm, seeing all of the animals in different states and shapes of light forms as they start to remember who they really are. And then as we cross over the third bridge that we're crossing over today, we get into a very specific part of this pet heaven, this animal heaven, where the souls that are coming in here are here to write soul contracts and have made the decision that they are going to reincarnate. And so here they are, just the pure orb, that little ball of light. They have been healed. They are back into full remembrance of who they are. They've watched their life reviews. They know like where they maybe could have done better, where they went wrong, what they'd like to learn. And so they're going to choose a lifetime now, and they're going to specifically choose the kind of animal, where on the world they're going to be born, what the environment or circumstances will be like. And any lessons that they missed in the last life, they'll rewrite them here, maybe slightly in a different way to help them. Maybe they need to learn it in a different way. And then they'll also write in some new lessons. Maybe they want to learn how to love a human, or maybe they want to learn how to love a partner, like a swan, how they like mate for life. Maybe they want to learn something like that. Maybe they want to be a parent this time around and be more patient with their children. Like there's deep lessons that you can learn as an animal around patience, love, loyalty, protection, devotion, so, so much. And so it just depends on the individual. And then once they have that soul contract written, then the process begins for them to head back down to earth. And heading back down to earth looks like, it looks really interesting. It looks like them choosing their parents, just like we would as humans. And then when their parents successfully create like an embryo or a fetus or whatever kind of animal it is, when they successfully create that, there's that spark of creation that happens when the female and the male DNA meets and starts to make a new baby. When that spark of creation happens, the soul sparks and they look down like at themselves, and know, oh, it just happened. So the spark that happens inside of the egg or inside of the mother's womb or whatever kind of animal it is, that little spark of light of like conceptions just happened. I see it happens in the heavenly place as a spark deep in the soul. And they're like, oh, and that's the forming of a new layer. So each lifetime on the soul, like we were saying at the beginning, is a new layer. That spark starts a new layer. That's the first thing that happens in the new layer. So they don't immediately have to head down to Earth. They have a time frame. And they can choose to go and be like, some of them want to go early on and be and experience that being in the womb or being in the egg. And others will go in and out, and they're allowed to do that. And yet others will wait until like the moment of birth. So it's up to the soul, but they're allowed to leave right up until they're born. Once they're born, they're locked in. So sometimes when the mother is pregnant, the baby is still editing soul contracts a little bit. Like there's still some things they could be like, oh, I just thought of this, I just thought. So they're allowed to do that right up until the moment of birth. And then once they're born, they get pulled in. It's almost like going through a black hole, like a void. They get pulled in and then pop out the other side. And that is because female humans and animals are like portals of creation. And that's what they do. They go through the portal and then they become this new baby. So I'm going to ask some of these questions now that came in earlier while we're here. Can they be with us when we call on them? So I'm going to ask now that we've seen the 3 different realms of the animal heaven. We want to ask, can you still be with us when we call on you from Earth? And the answer coming in is less so in the first phase. In the first phase, the entire consciousness and mind and thoughts and all of that are pretty consumed by being protected and being like nurtured and comforted. So they just find their animal group. Like if it's a cat, then it finds like a nice group of cats and they're all getting along. And like I said, there's no eating or drinking or anything like that. It's just comfort. It's just being together. It's just in between what just happened and where I'm going, like a healing spot. So in that first phase, there's less of them being able to really connect with much other than processing what just happened, which was their death. And so that has to be understood. And that is why we may not hear from our loved ones, whether that's animal or human, usually for, depending on the being, but 1 to 4 months usually. And then they move on into a place where they start to remember who they are, which means that they can remember us, and then they would be able to do that. So in the in-between phase, which is the longest, biggest part of this pet heaven, they can absolutely visit us. in our dreams, in our meditations. They can also, they're showing me they can also visit us when we're not trying to meditate with them and we're not sleeping. They can also just visit us in an everyday moment by like, I'm seeing like this vision of a cat knocking something off of a shelf to get their owner's attention, to get them to know that, you know, I'm here and I'm with you and I'm thinking about you. Them revisiting us is like them revisiting their past life that they were just in. So it can be healing for them too. So to see us again, okay, yes, that's right. That was my owner. I played this role. This is how I died. Okay, I'm healing. I'm moving through it, getting everything straight in their mind with what happened and missing you. So being able to send you love and all of that. Now, if they were to become a spirit guide, if they were to decide to do that, instead of moving on into create, like they would move on to create soul contracts. No, they just corrected me. They said no, soul contracts are specifically for incarnations. So they would not do that. They would not move on into that smaller third area where they would make soul contracts for themselves, writing out everything about their new life. They wouldn't do that part. They would stay in the middle part and continue to visit us, assist us, send us messages. So when they're acting as a spirit guide, they're in the middle section. And if they ever tire of that, then they move on to a reincarnation moment. So then I'm going to ask, can they be our spirit guide and reincarnate at the same time? So they're showing me that would have to, they're showing me that a soul at the level that we're looking at, which is individual souls, can't split themselves in two to do that, but that the oversoul can do that. So the oversoul is something that we haven't talked about yet. The oversoul of any, we all have an oversoul. All animals do, all humans do. We all have a soul that's an oversoul. It's above all of this and it's large. It's like a mini God and it contains many versions of us and our whole soul tribe and all of that. They're saying if someone decided that they wanted to be a spirit guide, they could just stay in that middle area and be the individual soul as a spirit guide. But if someone wanted to reincarnate and be a spirit guide, then they would reincarnate as the individual soul that they were, but that they would assign a piece of the oversoul, part of the oversoul consciousness to act as that spirit guide to that human being. So they would have to get the oversoul involved if they wanted to be a spirit guide plus have a reincarnation moment. And they're also saying many of them that decide to be spirit guides get the oversoul involved anyway, because when they rejoin the oversoul, it's like a small pebble returning to shore. Like it's a small piece of individual consciousness that we are returning to our oversoul. We have so much more to offer as a spirit guide then. We have like so much more wisdom to pull from, so much more power, so much more presence, so much more ability to really connect in a much more powerful way. So if an animal decided, I don't want to reincarnate, I just want to be a spirit guide for a while, they would rejoin their oversoul and do it from that aspect. And so the oversoul would receive back a piece of itself, and then that piece would be like locked in, like I'm seeing like almost like energy cords locked into the rest of it, but still its individual self and being a spirit guide from there. Okay. So that answers the spirit guide question. That answers if they're able to connect with us. And then the other question was, can they be a part of our soul family? The soul family, absolutely. The soul family would mean, if they were your soul family, that you and them have the same oversoul. So if you come from the oversoul that your pet comes from, then you are soul family. And likely that would be the case if the pet meant a lot to you. Like if it felt special, like the bonds felt special, then that means you have the same oversoul. And so if you meditate with your pet, if they're still alive on earth, and you meditate with your pet and you go up high enough, you'll merge together. Like if you send your consciousness up high enough, you'll be the same person. You'll be the same oversoul, which is kind of like a cool concept as well. Um, and then Nora was asking, I want to know if some animals have arrived from other planets. Let me ask about galactic influence here. So what I just received was that just as there are different humanoids for each planet, like Earth has humans, the Pleiades has Pleiadians, we have mantis beings in Antares, like the higher level conscious being on Earth would be a human, and it would be something different on every other planet. It's the same with the animals. The animals that are assigned to Earth are specific to Earth, and the ones assigned to the Pleiades are specific to the Pleiades, and around and around. So the animals and the nature is specific to the planet. So no, we didn't receive like the animals that we have are earth animals. It's Gaia's creation is what they're saying. Gaia is a masterful creator, and she's created many amazing creatures and beings, and that it's Gaia's creation. So let me ask though, because humans are Gaia's creation too, but we know that we have been, what's the right word? Like bred with a lot of DNA, galactic DNA. Let me ask if there's any animals that were made in the same way. They just said we can have visitor animals during times like during Lemuria, we had a lot of animals that were visiting from Sirius, like mermaids, dolphins, but they didn't come from here, they came from there. And then if they chose to breed, and have like or breed with dolphins that were from Earth or whatever, then we could end up with like galactic DNA. I see it a lot in the ocean. I see it a lot for dolphins. I see Sirius DNA and dolphins and Sirian DNA and whales and like really highly intelligent animals in the ocean have like a Sirian galactic vibe, and that is from that Lemurian time where they came and they interacted and lived together. Let me ask if there's any other instances like that. I'm kind of scanning through right now, like forest, desert. What's interesting is they just said, no, there's the most highly evolved, highly intelligent, highly conscious animals on your planet are in the ocean. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Just double checking that is there any other galactic influence on animals anywhere else on Earth? I'm not getting that there is. So they keep showing me the ocean, and then they showed me when I asked that, then they showed me like, well, there's water worlds in Syrian or Mintaka, like all these different places that have water worlds can easily intermingle species. It's different for like surface level planets. Like there's different, I guess, like oxygen levels. I mean, I don't know, different things that are needed for life that is never an exact match. But yet the ocean seems to work pretty easily for water worlds to interact with one another. So the answer I would say from this channeling is that in the ocean, yes, and that everywhere else it's Gaia's creation. She's created all these crazy lizards and reptilians. They're not coming from Draco. She's created all these amazing birds. They're not from Cygnus. She's created like all of these incredible bears and wolves, and they're from Gaia. They're from Earth. Um, Humans are technically created by Gaia as well. Like we come from the elements of the earth. We're made from her elements. But obviously our souls are not from here. And then there's been interference, right? So if we're made from Gaia and then it's interfered with, it's like we would have grown up to be, they've always shown me more like Sasquatches. But then we had interference during our evolutionary process to evolve us in different ways. And that's why different continents look so different, like Asia looks so different than Africa, like the people look so different. It's not all environmental, it's actually galactic DNA, different galactic DNAs. This continent, is seeded by the Lyrans, and then this continent was seeded by the Pleiadians, and then they all look very different because of that different seeding from these galactic beings. And that's why we have such a interesting array of different characteristics, physical characteristics as human beings. So anyway, this isn't about humans, this is about animals, and the answer to that was just in the ocean. That was the only one. Okay, so, and now I'm just going to read, I've got a couple more questions here. Brian saying, I always thought his cat Noodles was a part of his soul. He used to meditate with me. Definitely, you guys are the same oversoul then. And then Veronica saying, I've heard the Earth is a living library of DNA seeded here from other planets and galaxies to store their DNA in animals and plants and stuff. Oh, that's such a cool idea and theme. Let me check and see if there's any truth to that. I love that. I think that that's so cool. Like, you almost want it to be true. Let me just check what comes in. So I'm asking the animal soul realms here and our guides here and any higher dimensional beings here to answer, are animals storing DNA for galactic beings? They're like, to think that is to think that planets that can have life is minimal. Like, that's like lack, thinking like, oh my God, Earth has to store all these things. And they're like, you have no idea how many planets there are that are evolved and carrying life, nature, animals, humanoids, aliens, whatever. There's so many planets that there is no need for Earth to do more. She's already doing so much. There's no need for Earth to like secretly store DNA for things to come back to collect. They're saying that doesn't mean that there aren't ancient artifacts that are stored there, because there are. They're showing me like the Bermuda Triangle. They're showing me like stargates. They're showing me like an ancient spacecraft that they plan on recollecting one day because they crashed it. Like, there's definitely ancient artifacts where they would want that back. But when it comes to like nature and animals, this is our special Earth. Like, Earth is beautiful. It is its own thing. And if they want to have, a certain kind of whatever, there's many planets for them to create things on. Whatever has been created here is from Gaia and natural evolution, and seeing, kind of like a beautiful experiment, seeing what will happen if you just let life force go. Like, life force will always strive for growth. Life force will always continue to evolve. And the way that our own animals have evolved so greatly, like, it's just like its own experiment to see what will happen with that. And the only thing that feels different than that is the ocean. And some of the ocean is still pure like that, but there's a lot of beings, I believe, in the ocean that are not from Earth. I just feel them in there. They are so highly conscious. There's so much more happening in the ocean than what we understand. Like, for sure, for sure. But on the Earth, I'm just not feeling that. But I love that as a theory. Okay, beautiful. So is there anything else? I'm going to ask, is there anything else that they want to share with us before we go? Thank you so much for showing us this beautiful heaven for pets. The first layer, the big second layer where almost everybody is, and then the smaller third layer where people are ready to move on. The oversoul connection, if they want to connect back into their soul tribe, their oversoul, be spirit guides, be more of that higher consciousness guiding people. That's the oversoul. Yeah, is there anything else that you want to share with us that we should know about animals? They're saying animals remember. They might not have the same level of intelligence or memory that we have while here on Earth, but remember that as soon as that soul crosses over and moves through the first layer and gets into that second layer, they remember all the things that ever happened to them. They remember all of the times like that you were mean or yelled or hurt their feelings or hurt them physically. They remember all of that and they have to heal it. It's deep for them. Like, their connection and their bond with their owners is like their parents. And so imagine every time your parents hurt you, then you had to spend decades doing inner child work. be good to your animals, they're saying, because then they have to go on and do it on the other side when they cross over, do all of this like healing and inner child work, because they are like children and we are truly like their parents. And this is specific to domestic animals like cats and dogs and anything domestic in the home. Just remember how meaningful it is to them when you are kind and patient and loving, and that makes them want to come back to you and want to come back to earth. And the opposite makes them have to spend so much time healing. Just a kindness, kindness, kindness. Like they're so innocent. So just so much kindness. And when it comes to like wild animals, like seeing a wild animal, like a bear or a deer or whatever, like that moment of them seeing you and you seeing them also can hold special significance. So they're saying that Gaia uses wild animals to give us messages. So she will move a bird across your path, or she will move, like she has a presence, a way of moving, manipulating the animals in the wild, or are more hers. She is their parent versus domestic animals. We are their parent. Gaia is the parent of all wild animals, and she has her ways of moving them across your path. And so just know that everything means something. It truly is that deep. Your life truly is that divinely orchestrated, that whenever you see a ladybug, a this, a that, it's time for you to figure out what Gaia is trying to tell you. There's a deep message in there for you. And something so fun can just be Googling spiritual meaning of right? But also you can sit and ask for your own meaning, like tune into your own intuition. Oh, and then I just heard, and also ask Gaia. She's the one that sent it to you. We don't tune into Gaia enough, right? Sit down on the ground where you can feel your root connecting with Gaia and ask her, okay, I saw a praying mantis today. What are you trying to tell me? And she's like, more devotion, more praying, more manifestation. You need a spiritual daily ritual routine. Okay. And then Veronica, so there's just similar beings on Earth to galactic beings like felines, lyrans, reptiles, and reptilians, for example. Okay, let's ask about that. And they're saying, and avian. They're calling it seeds of life. They're saying there's the avian seed of life, the insect seed of life, the mammal seed of life. And when we take these seeds of life and they go onto a planet that is ready to create life and evolve it, it can take on different forms, right? So what do the avian beings look like on Earth versus the avian beings? Like there's groups. There's, even when we think of like the movie Avatar, there's always going to be mammals, reptilians, avian just means things with wings. We're going to have these groups, and they're going to have the seeds of creation for the avians, for the underwater, for the mammals, for the reptilians, for the insects, for whatever. And then each planet has its own special way of expressing what that looks like. This is what Gaia did with it. She took the seeds of creation and she went boom, and it's so beautiful. Even the way her flowers look are hers alone. And then other planets get the seeds of creation of that, and they go boom, and they create something, could be similar, could look similar, but it could look really different. And it all depends on the elements that can support life and how they entangled together. True, that's why I thought maybe cats had their own planet. Also, because a Reiki man with a Reiki cat told me that 10 years ago, cats had their own planet. Yeah. Well, I mean, just like there are, that's not saying that cats don't have their own planet, what I'm saying, right? I'm saying this is what Gaia did with those seeds. But like, think about how there's entire galaxies of just insectoid beings, right? There's galactic ants, there's galactic mantis beings that are way bigger than what we have here on Earth, right? So there could be not just planets, but literal galaxies of just insectoids, galaxies of just felines, galaxies of just avian, galaxies of just dragon. Like there is everything out there that can be out there. And I think what makes Gaia so incredible is that there's so much variety here, like so much variety. And I think that that makes it so special. So all of this variety on Gaia is from her being able to host so many different versions, seeds of life. And I think it's not disconnected that Gaia is a school, right? So if Earth is this advanced school for not just humans, right? What if Earth, like, we always know that Gaia is like a school for human beings and we can evolve through her grades. What if Earth is a school for animals too, right? And that's why there's so much variety here and so much interaction with each other. We interact with insects and animals and this and that, and other worlds are not like that. It's advanced. We're all together. We're all learning together. There's lessons, there's karma, and it's all interchangeable. That is precious. And I do feel that is unique. Like having a planet like Gaia host so much and be such a school, be such a powerful school of these amazing advanced lessons that's rare, that's unique. And that is why we have so much galactic attention all the time. Like what's going on Earth? Because we're this huge experiment, we're this huge school, and this isn't a place where many people feel they're from, right? It's more of like you come in and then you experience these crazy lessons and go through it. But that's the soul feeling they're not from here because we feel like, we're from somewhere else. But the bodies that Gaia is creating are organically hers. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, a planet of cats, cool. Sign me up. I would totally go and check that out. And I really truly believe that we can choose to be that. Like you can choose to be an animal. Maybe you don't want to do that on Earth though, but you can choose to have an animal lifetime. And you probably already have. And I've seen people in soul contracts choose to be trees, and a lot of the time I was like, is that, can trees even have souls? But there are worlds. There's a world for everything. There are worlds out there of sentient trees that think and talk and maybe even walk around. There's a world for everything. So, whatever you decide, the experience that you need or want or desire, or a combination of all of them, it's out there for you. But remember, you chose this too, right? You chose here too. You chose this character. Remember, you're all playing a character right now. There's a reason. Don't let this life end without figuring out what your reason was. Like, why did I have to be Jenny? Like, what is it? And it's probably more than one thing, certainly. But we that's our purpose. We want to get to the bottom of what that is. So cool, you guys. Okay, awesome. I'm gonna leave it here. That was a lot of really beautiful information about the way that their heaven works there, the layers, the animals, the difference between the wild animals and the domestic animals, and that, that animals are allowed to just evolve freely and wildly here on Earth without too much interference, except for in the ocean. And yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you enjoyed it and that we all learned something. A lot of the time, I feel like these kinds of crazy journeys answer questions, but then just open bigger questions. So we leave being like, okay, but what about this? Like, but that's good. It like gets us opening up to like really deep concepts and what's really going on in all of these different planets, dimensions, realms, heavens, all of these things, oversouls. Like it's good to have these big thoughts. That's the soul coming in and thinking. So it's beautiful. Okay. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. And I will see you all in our next event, which is going to be messages from your animal guides and past loved pets. I'll see y'all then. Talk to everybody soon. Bye.